subscribe. So, you're a JayZ fan, I guess, right? You clicked on this video, so it's safe to assume that, right? You're a JayZ fan. Maybe you're a JayZ hater, okay? Either way you click this video, I appreciate it. You know, Rant Nation, we appreciate it, right? And, oh, man. Now, he may not be your favorite, right? But to say this guy cannot rhyme words exceptionally well is crazy. And what's even more interesting about Jay is, you know, you hear these songs, some of these songs are 30 years old when this video was recorded, of course. And you hear these songs and, man, like, this dude mastered the subliminal diss. He can talk about you on a record and you can be featured on that record and never knew you were being talked about. JayZ just has a way with words, right? And this is a different type of rant. This is one of those music video rants, right? But I'm going to tell a story as well too, right? And you guys see the thumbnail. You guys know what we about to talk about. Where I'm from. CoughUpALung, where I'm from. Marcy, son, ain't nothing nice. Come on now, we already know that, right? But in the beginning of that song, if you recall, JayZ says, how real is this? And when he's asking that, well, we're going to let you guys decide that, right? Is this just a rant or is this a real story? But don't worry, because Rants went to college, so Rants will be citing his sources at the end of this. See, Rants ain't no idiot, right? So we'll be providing links and all that as well too, right? Now, of course, to know JayZ, of course, to know him, you would have to know where he's from. And we all know that's Marcy Projects, right? You guys remember the verse? I'm from where the hammers run, news cameras never come. You and your man's hunging, every verse in your rhyme, where the grams was slung. Ninjas vanish every summer. When the blue vans would come, we throw the work in the can and run. Where the plans was to get funds and skate off the set. To achieve this goal quicker, so all my weight wet. Faced with immeasurable odds, still I gave straight bets. So I felt I owed something, and you, nothing. Check. I'm from where the other side, where the other guys don't walk too much. And girls from the projects wouldn't touch us, said we talk too much. So they ran up to Tompkins and sought them dudes to trust. I don't know what they thought. Them ninjas was foul, just like us. I'm from where the beef is inevitable. Summertime's unforgettable. Boosters in abundance, buy a half price sweater new. Your word was everything, so everything you said you do, you did it. Couldn't talk about it if you ain't live it. I'm from where ninjas pull your card and argue all day about who's the best MCs, Biggie, JayZ, or Nas. Where the drug stars evolve and thugs are at odds at each other's throats for the love of foreign cars. Where cats catch cases hoping to judge R&Rs, but most of the times they find themselves locked up behind bars. Is that all? I'm from where they ball and breed rhyme stars. I'm from Marcy, son. Just thought I'd remind y'all. And Jay paints a vivid picture of his hood and how it's just like yours, right? If you're from the hood, you can relate to him. He can relate to you. He's from Marcy, you're from your hood, but they're just alike, right? And that leads us to this actual rant, right? The actual story. Let's go back 40 years ago, 1986, okay? Now you have to understand, this is Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, okay? The robbery culture in Brooklyn is heavy. If you guys are familiar, back in the day they would say Queens keep making it and Brooklyn keep taking it. Queens was known to have hustlers and Brooklyn was known to have people that committed robberies. This is just a known fact, right? Now, we also have to explain the geography, right? So I'm going to show you guys a picture. Now, you guys see, right, that red mark, that's Marcy Projects, okay? And on the end is Sumner houses. Okay? And in the middle of that, right there, you see the little walking. Yeah, that's Tompkins houses. So I want you guys to understand, because everybody is not from Brooklyn, right, that's watching this, right? If you from there, then you already know. I know what I'm talking about, right? But these project houses are very close. So, once again, to follow this story, understand 3 hoods are involved. We have Marcy houses, we have Tompkins houses, and we have Sumner houses. Okay? So now that we got that out the way, let me explain this. The Polo Ralph Lauren goose coat of the 1980s, the mid-80s, right? Popular coat. Everybody in Brooklyn wants it. And you know how they get it in Brooklyn, right? The Brooklyn way. They're taking it by force. And they're going to have tools on them. So, popular coat. If you got it on, you might want to have a tool on you, right? Great coat. It's been rumored that these coats cost, $700 back then. Now, I don't know if that's true, but nonetheless, Rants did do we've got the inflation calculator, and that's equal to $2,100. Okay? Now, I went on Ralph Lauren myself to even try to find some coats that could even match this. As you can see, Rant's favorite color is green. I tried to find something. I found a mean shearling, right? But nonetheless, though, right? We got the coat out the way, right? You got to understand, this is a big deal. This coat is a big deal, right? You can still find it on eBay, actually. I think they still want like $300 for it, right? Now, let me explain something else. Like right now, consider this before, I haven't started the story yet. We're just cleaning off the table before I add food to it. I just want everybody to be on the same page, okay? Now, let me explain something else. During this time in Brooklyn, the 5% nation is heavy, okay? Heavy. And it's common for young black brothers in New York to either already know or want to seek knowledge of self. You guys remember Nas with the Peace God? This explains why Nas and Rakim and other rappers, right, would often, quote unquote, kick knowledge in their raps. Yeah, let this be a hip-hop lesson for you guys if you guys aren't familiar. You should be, though, right? Because you clicked this video, right? But yeah, let Rants teach you, right? And I must say that, right? I gotta say that so you guys can understand the characters and not get confused with the names and everything, right? So the 5% nation is heavy. Now, let's explain some of the characters, okay? We have, hailing from Marcy projects, right? Who's going to be involved in this story? We have JayZ. Now, granted, JayZ isn't really involved much in the story, but he was there. And at this time, he's actually messing with the little chick in Sumner houses. So he's already familiar with how these guys give it up. Now, we also have Ty. Yes, the Mai Tai sipping partner from JayZ's Dead President's verse, right? Now, if you're a Jay fan, you already know who Ty is, right? Well, hold on, let me correct myself. You know what JayZ has told you about Ty, because to know Ty is to know his older brother, Tilo. Yes, Tilo. Tilo was a real dude from Marcy, and Tilo is briefly involved in this story. Jay mentions Tilo on his legendary God Dead verse. Tilo got hit up for that prison phone. I don't know if y'all remember. That's neither here nor there, though, right? I'm just trying to connect dots. But Ty was there, and he's a critical person in this story, though, right? Now, I know the Jay fans don't like this next guy, right? But D. Haven was there, and he's a critical person in this story, okay? Brief history on Headache, a.k.a. D. Haven. He is actually from Sumner houses, and he moved to Marcy like around junior high, and that's where he met Jay, and, they make their history, right? But D. Haven was there, okay? And Sean. Okay, I know, of course, I get it, right? I won't be referring to him as JayZ until he actually forms into Jay, All right, and he will, don't worry. But this story starts in 1986, okay? It doesn't end in 86, but he's going to be Sean in this story, all right? And of course, he's a critical character, right? Now, from Sumner houses, understand, right? All these guys, they rob, they're about the tool play, you know, and they're familiar with DeHaven, and they got big love for Tata due to his older brother Tilo, right? So we got Hash, who was a go hard dude, you know, and has an infatuation with polo gooses, but he doesn't want to pay for them because he's from Brooklyn, right? We got Bo, who's a stocky knockout artist. He's the fighter of the crew, right? And we got Black Knowledge. Now, Black Knowledge, he's a legend around Sumner. And he was outside that day and he's telling the story. Now, remember, I mentioned the 5% Nation, so hence the name Black Knowledge, okay? And Sumner houses, understand, Tracy Morgan is from there, okay? And E Moneybags, one of my favorite New York goons, right? Do your history and research on E Moneybags, right? He ends up moving to Left Rack, you know, and repping Queens and whatnot, but that's a whole nother story and a whole nother video for another day, right? Now, from Tompkins, we have Knowledge B. As just mentioned, and we have to make this clear, Knowledge B is not from Marcy. He's not from Sumner. He's from Tompkins. And he can't stand Marcy dudes. In fact, one time, Tilo, Tata brother, was trying to holler at Black Knowledge one day. So naturally, he's from Marcy, so he has to walk through Tompkins to get to Sumner, right? And he's stopped by this guy. And this guy was very disrespectful. He's like, hey, yo, these witch-ass Marcy ninjas ain't walking through my projects. And he makes Tilo and his man turn around and walks them back to Marcy with his hand on his tool. Tilo ended up telling Black Knowledge later, like, man, some dude named Knowledge B pressed us. I didn't even have my tool on me. He walked us back down Marcy just in case we went to go get ours. Now, understand, Knowledge B is very, very cool with the Sumner dudes, okay? The same ones I mentioned earlier in this story. He's very cool with them. So once again, this is Knowledge B, not to be confused with Black Knowledge, who's from Sumner. Okay? Like I said, 5% Nation, right? And all of these characters went to PS 133 in Brooklyn together, right? So they all know each other, they're familiar with each other and whatnot, right? So you guys know all the characters. So now we can actually get into the story. So it's 1986, right? And everybody in this story is, 17, with the exception of maybe Knowledge B, who's probably like 1 year older, and Tata, right? Remember, Tata is only like 12 because he's born in 74, right? And Sean, who lives in Marcy, has always been attracted to nice jiggy things, right? He's rocking the polo goose, looking sweeter than diabetic blood. Now, Black Knowledge wasn't there for this particular part, but this is how I envision it, right? Sean is either in front of his building or Tata building, probably writing an old school verse in his head. He's probably like, sucker MCs can't flow with me. I'm from Marcy. You know, he's perfecting his flow, right? He's minding his business though, right? And then what do you know? Knowledge B from Tompkins and Hash from Sumner catch Sean slipping. Mind you, he's outnumbered, right? And he doesn't have a tool on him. So Sean gives up the polo goose and a chain that he has on. Now remember, Hash is infatuated with the polo gooses. So he gets the coat and Knowledge B gets the chain. That's how they split that robbery, right? Now, Sean is salty, naturally. He just got robbed. And he goes and tells DeHaven and Tata, he's like, yeah, some ninjas from Sumner robbed me. And DeHaven is like, oh, well, you know, I grew up with them dudes. Let's go over there and I'll talk to them and see if we can get your stuff back. So DeHaven, Tata, who has a rapport with the Sumner dudes due to his brother Tilo, They going up there. Jazzo's rolling with him. And of course, Sean is going because his stuff got taken, right? Now, none of these dudes have any tools on them, right? And as they're walking to Sumner, they see a group of guys in Tompkins, right? Like I said, you got to walk through there to even get to there, right? And what do you know? Hash is there with Sean's coat on, and he's with his group of men, of course. And the group walks over there, but I don't want you guys to think like these Marcy dudes is crazy. Like, they eventually stop a couple yards back, and DeHaven actually walks over there and talks to them. Because he, like I said, he grew up with them, right? But understand, as mentioned earlier, DeHaven is under the impression that these guys are cool because he used to live around Sumner, right? He's familiar with them. But no, see, this is the hood. You knew these Sumner boys when they were innocent. You wasn't out there that summer when they lost their innocence and started playing with them tools, right? These dudes don't know you anymore. But DeHaven walks over there very respectful. He hollers at Black Knowledge. He's like, hey, my man Sean, you know, he got robbed in Marcy about 2 hours ago. That's my man. And he like, you know, my man Sean said your man, pointing at Hash like your man got his coat on right there. So Hash say, look, DeHaven, my bad. I didn't know that was your man. But you know how the game go. And you from Sumner, headache. We not giving back anything we take. But since he your man, I'll tell you what though, right? I'll put the jacket on the pavement and we can fight for it. I feel like I put in work to get this jacket. So he got to put in work to get it back. So DeHaven walks back over to Sean, Tata, and Jazz, and he tells him the proposition, right? And Sean declines. He says, no, I'm not fighting over the coat. I'm not even tripping off that coat. I really want that chain. So now Tata and DeHaven, who knows them, of course, walks back over there and tells him, like, yeah, Sean don't want to fight for the coat. He said he's more concerned about the chain. Black Knowledge tells both Tata and DeHaven, look, my man got the chain upstairs, but Slim is a loose cannon. And if he comes outside, I can't promise I can control him. Is your man sure he want to do that? Granted, all these dudes outside from the Sumner side got tools. The Marcy boys don't. Sean says, yeah, I need that chain. So Black Knowledge knocks on Knowledge B door. And he couldn't even finish the damn sentence. He was like, hey, so Marcy and Knowledge B already start grabbing his twin tools. And Black Knowledge is like, yo, calm down. We all gripped up down there. And they don't seem like they off the tool play. But Knowledge B was like, nah, I already know what's going on. We just robbed a dude out there. And if that's them, I'm sending them to the gates. Black Knowledge ends up talking him to only bring one of his tools out. So he leaves the other in the house, right? And he tells him, yeah, I think, you know, dude want to fight for his chain. Talking about Sean, of course. Now, yeah, I think dude want to fight for his chain. Now, you can easily just go out there and tell him he's not getting it back and go in the house. It don't have to be, you know, that serious or nothing. And as soon as Knowledge B walks outside and turns that corner where Sean and the Marcy boys are, he starts kirking. He like, Tata, why you bring these witch-ass Marcy ninjas in my projects? You wouldn't even fight for your coat, but you want to fight me for this chain? Then he rips the chain off his neck, right, and tosses it on the ground and says, Ninja, if that's what you want to do, throw him up. Sean see this energy, and he's like, oh, nah, forget that chain. And Black Knowledge is like, oh, no, it don't work like that. Something's got to give because I already didn't want to get him outside. But your man Sean asked for the fight. Now, granted, let's be real about this situation, right? Sean is in a no-win situation. Let's say he do fight dude, right? And he win. At best, they get jumped. At worst, someone gets clapped, right? Plus, none of them have tools. They brought words to a tool fight, which is crazy. And Jay declines to fight again, right? He declines. He's like, nah, forget the chain. Now, this leads to Knowledge B up in his tool and licking 2 warning pops in the air and saying, yeah, y'all Marcy ninjas, go run. And granted, let's explain something. This is when that pride and ego kick in. if you got this far in the story, you're already into it, right? Understand this. There's a thin line between being gangster and stupid. Quick example. If a blood walks through a Crip neighborhood and nothing happens to him, he's deemed gangster. However, if what happens to him, he's deemed stupid, right? And these young men from Marcy, all they got is pride and ego right now, because they definitely don't got no tools on them. He licked them 2 warning pops in the head, told them, yeah, run back to Marcy. Right? Black Knowledge says, he said it himself. Look, I read Sean's lips. Sean said, I'm not running. DeHaven says it out loud though, like, yo, I'm not running. And now you got to understand, that's challenging a live wire. Knowledge B put the tool right to DeHaven head. And thank God for Black Knowledge for being right next to Knowledge B, because he smacked the tool down. And when the trigger was pulled, you know, it hit the ground, right? Meanwhile, DeHaven never flinches. Never flinches. And this leads to Tata kirking off. He's like, hey, yo, Knowledge, that's some witch stuff you pulling out, tools. Knowledge B is like, what, Tata? What? And Black Knowledge is still holding his arm, right? So he can't really do nothing with the tool. And he's trying to explain to him, like, look, if you delete DeHaven, we got to delete the witnesses too. We can't leave the witnesses, you know. And during this whole altercation, Bo, remember Bo? The fighter, right? The Sumner brawler, right? He's much bigger than Tata. He sneaks Tata and knocks him out. Okay? Like, knocks him unconscious. He gets back up though. He's not just sleep cold, right? He gets up and he's woozy. And he's woozy, right? And this leads to them leaving. He's like, oh, word, that okay, I'ma see about you. You know, Tata, they walking off, right? They walking off. They feel some type of way. They tight. You know, they walking off. They walk back to Marcy. But nobody is deleted, right? Now, remember, Tata's older brother, Tilo, he's not nobody to play with. And what Sumner don't know is Tata started experiencing headaches. And he went into a small coma. Yeah, he went into the hospital, went into a small coma. And this led Tilo to wonder what happened to his brother. And of course, the crew tells him. So the very next day, some random Marcy boys pull up. We gonna assume Tilo was with him, right? Pulls up in Sumner with assault rifles and pistol whip Bo. Nasty pistol whip him in front of his building because he was the one that snuck Tata, right? Now, granted, Knowledge B was there and he don't like Marcy guys, but when he saw them assault rifles, he was shook. He couldn't even up his tool. And Knowledge B saved Bo's life. He was like, don't delete him, man, don't delete him. And they drove off. So Bo goes back to Black Knowledge house looking like Martin from that one boxing episode, right? And now Black Knowledge is questioning why Knowledge B didn't do anything. But, you know, he was shook when he saw the artillery, right? And Bo is shook because he could have got deleted. He's trying to squash all beefs now. So now Black Knowledge and Hash, you know, the guy that took Sean's coat, they go to Marcy, strapped, of course, to squash this before it goes any further. But they're ready to take it up a notch if they have to. That's why they came strapped, right? And they run into an OG that's respected in Marcy. And that OG was, in fact, there on that hit, you know. And the OG from Marcy tell him, like, man, look, we don't want no problems like that. He just shouldn't have hit Tata, for real. Like, you know, we could have really left your man. I don't know if you know, but Tata's in a coma. See, the Sumner dudes was never aware of Tata's condition. So now they understand, you know, the severity, right? So, mind you, remember, Black Knowledge was cool with Tata and them, right? He talks to Tata. He actually goes over his house, right? Once Tata gets out the hospital, he's recovering in his house, right? In Marcy. He goes over there and Tata is like, nah, it's done, man, it's done. My brother just couldn't take that lightly when I got touched. And they both agreed since, you know, both had injuries they could heal from. And now it's squashed, right? Now, fast forward, Black Knowledge goes to jail and Sean climbs up the ladder of success and becomes JayZ, right? So it's 1996 now, 10 years later. And Black Knowledge is out of jail and he runs into Tata in downtown Brooklyn. Probably by the juniors that the band had to walk to, right? You guys remember that, right? It's neither here nor there. But he sees Tata in the Lexus and he's looking clean, and Black Knowledge sees him. He's like, he seems like, what's good? What's up, Tata? And they show love to each other. Tata even tells him like, look, yeah, I heard you started a little label. You see, we doing our thing. If you need any help, reach out, and they catching up, right? Asking about T-Lo and all that, right? And Black Knowledge say, yeah, that's what's up. Hey, tell Jay I see him out here. And Tata looks at him with caution, as if Jay may still feel some type of way. Now it's 97. And Jay drops Where I'm From, right? And Black Knowledge ends up running into his man Joe from Bushwick Projects, right? Which is also located in Bed-Stuy, right? Now, Joe is Knowledge B's best friend, and I purposely left this out, but Knowledge B went hard, so naturally he was deleted around 1991, right? And his man Joe is telling Black Knowledge, like, yeah, Knowledge B was fighting in the hospital after he got hit, similar to Tupac, right? So after he got hit up, he was in the hospital fighting for his life, for about like the next 5 days. And he was like, yeah, you remember that situation that, you got into it with Jay back in the day, right? All that. Black Knowledge like, yeah, I remember that, man. That's water under the bridge, though. Me and Tata, we made up and all that. We cool. And Joe was like, well, Knowledge B was in the hospital fighting for his life, and he went into a coughing fit, and he coughed up a lung. At least that's what the story in the hood is, So he died from coughing up a lung. Now go back and listen to that damn song, right? Now. Go back and listen to that damn song. Cough up a lung where I'm from, Marcy, son, ain't nothing nice. Granted. He did get this from Sauce Money, I believe, off like Life and Death, I believe. It's a song, but it was like an unreleased song. Cough up a lung where I'm from, Marcy, son, ain't nothing nice. Flushing Avenue to be more precise. But granted, Jay takes that line and makes it a hot song. That's what he does. He's been doing that his whole career, right? And granted, he starts the song off asking, how real is this? What about the lines like, so they ran up to Tompkins and sold them dudes to trust. I don't know what they thought, they was foul just like us. I'm from where the beef is inevitable, summertime's unforgettable. Jay is a petty dude. We already know this, right? Come on now. We know this. Can't talk about it if you ain't live it. Y'all remember 1-900 Hustler? When Jay said, FYI, I never been robbed in my life. And I guess that is true. JayZ has never been robbed. He's always done his business proper, right? But Sean, on the other hand, different story, right? And to think, someone that will blackball someone with the same talent as him wouldn't feel a way towards someone like a guy like Knowledge B 10 years after the robbery. Like, this is 96, 97. It happened in 86. You think he wouldn't feel some type of way towards him? Like, you're crazy. You don't have to know him personally to understand that, right? Now, rest in peace to all the people that's no longer here that's in this story. Oh, yeah, and of course, I gotta cite my sources. I'll be providing a link in the description, right? About 2.5 hours of Black Knowledge telling this story on St. Last channel. Classic story. He tells it in much more detail than I did, right? And Rants, of course, is going to cite his sources. I don't play about that now. And, of course, as for Jay, the rich gets richer, right? Politics as usual. Like and subscribe. Randumb Rants.